Yeah, I'm alive. Hi, guys.
Introducing Gillette Labs with exfoliating bar. With one-stroke exfoliation, it clears a path on your skin before the blades for an effortless shave. Level up with Gillette Labs.
Oh, man, come on, eggs.
End of financial year is better off than zero.
Update you guys on the things that are taking place. The morning planned for you. Things are on fire. They are going awry everywhere. The insanity is growing. And folks, it seems as though the world just wants to normalize what's happening. The problem with what we're seeing with the world normalizing it is it's going to come back to bite everybody. And we're well on our way there. So we're going to talk about all of that. I want to thank, first and foremost, our friends at Rumble, who actually put us on their front page. We appreciate that. We think that it goes a long way. Thank you, Claudio and Jenna and the gang that's over there. You guys are awesome. We have a lot that we're going to talk about. There's a lot of stuff happening right now in the current moment. We're going to update you guys on the things that are taking place, and you will not believe what I have for you. You will not believe some of the research that we have come across related to what is fueling what is happening on campus, besides Satan himself. But it's about to affect our country in ways way more profound than we ever thought. And folks, I have news for you. The world undoubtedly changed overnight yet again, and we're going to talk about why. Because if you were not paying attention to what happened yesterday, if you were not paying attention to what happened last night, if you were not paying attention to some of the things that went on, especially nationwide and very uniquely and locally to us in LA and all over, folks, I'm telling you this right now, the world is changing rapidly and has changed for a lot of reasons. And we're going to get into that discussion because there is a lot to be said. And folks, I got to tell you this right now. I have not seen anything like this. It is getting crazier and crazier. And I believe it's incumbent upon us to see through the nonsense, to figure out the lies that are actually happening and to actually speak to them. Because the reality of it is we are watching insanity at levels that I just think is getting absolutely worse. I do want to thank the super chats and the super stickers. You guys that are coming in, you are awesome. Brad Brun, thank you. You say, after watching the dismantling of the encampment at UCLA, I now see why the cost went up with on wood, nails, plastic, bottles, fire extinguishers, concrete, tents, and flashlights. Looks like the Act Blue was hoarding them. Yeah, folks, you ain't kidding. Look, I'm going to just tell you this right now. By the way, Brad, thank you. I think it's humorous, but unfortunately, it's very real. And what you're saying is actually very true. Folks, I'm going to tell you this. If you have not been watching what's going on, it will absolutely make you sick. Now, I want to make a few points because I am bothered by some things that I am seeing right now. And I believe that some of those things are being played right into the hands of the American people. I think that they are being played right into the hands of anybody who wants to see freedom expanded in our world and in our country. Things are absolutely going crazy. First and foremost, we're looking at what's happening on the college campuses. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing how twisted the minds are of the kids that are actually doing this? How much they have been exploited and how much they have bought that stuff. Hook, line, and sinker. I have to tell you guys that what's happening is absolutely crazy. I am going to roll some video, which, by the way, I'm going to do some of this on Saturday. Saturday, I'm actually playing videos of some of this stuff to show you what's actually going on and what's taking place. But if you were to stop for just a moment and take a look at how absolutely nasty things have become, it would absolutely make you sick. Okay? This stuff that's happening is plaguing the minds and the hearts of these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're doing is basically something that they don't even know what it is. They don't understand what they're representing. They don't understand what they're saying. They have no idea. Look, let me just show you this, just for the heck of it. Let me bring this picture to you, because this picture just says so much about what's going on. Oh, that's the wrong. This says so much about what's going on campus right now. And it should blow your mind. Now, this here is footage from Colombia. If you cannot see what's happening based on the footage here, what you are actually looking at is you are looking at an overwhelming majority of white kids who have no background in Islam, who have no background in anything related to...
He's spot on, isn't he? We got a dog we're babysitting. He keeps barking. Jack, stop barking.
Palestine, as they would call
Stop barking, mate.
to Gaza, to
We don't
Israel,
bark here.
to the Middle East. They're bowing down and they're worshiping the very God that says they are infidels, and the very God that says they should be eliminated, they should be killed. That's what's happened. Now, I want everybody to understand this. This right here is happening because the God of this world, the devil, is a liar. He's good at what he's doing, and he continues to teach people how to swallow the lie, hook, line, and sinker. It's happening everywhere we go. Every place we are seeing lies like this being communicated. By the way, for those of you that might not know what the Quran says, not that I'm really interested in reading the Quran to people, but let me give you one line, just one line in the Quran. I read it all the time. And look, the evangelists tell me I shouldn't do that, I shouldn't do that. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I'm going to expose what these people are taught to believe. Okay? Look at what this says in the Quran. I'm going to read it to you in Arabic. It says, وَمَكْرُ وَمَكْرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرَ الْمَاكِرِينَ. In the Quran, if you translate this, this is in 354. If you translate this, what I just read in Arabic, وَمَكْرُ وَمَكْرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرَ الْمَاكِرِينَ. If I translate that from Arabic to English, it basically says they were deceptive, probably indirectly referring to the Jews, believe it or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Allah was deceptive.
Hey, Shawnee, good to see you.
Because Allah is the chief of deceivers. That's exactly what that says. I'm not joking. It's not an exaggeration. That's not an assertion based on some assumption over a specific word that I can't discern. My mom and dad were born and raised in Egypt. I understand the Arabic language. The Quran makes it very specific that deception should be a part of the vocabulary and the mindset of those who continue to communicate the things that they communicate in Islam. And to take it a step further, just to take it a step further, they say Allah is the chief of deceivers. And here's the problem I have with that, because this is very important.
Wow.
We need to understand this. The big problem that I have with that statement centers around the fact
I thought they eradicated TB, but I think that was polio.
that the Bible makes it clear. God doesn't mess around when he tells us this. The Bible makes it clear. Listen to me, folks. I'm not exaggerating. The Bible said it. The Bible makes it clear to us that the chief of deceivers is Satan. He's the father of all lies. He's not just the chief. He's the one that sires deception. He's the father of all lies. So when you read something in the Quran, like Allahu khayra al-makarina, you're basically hearing the Quran call its own God, Allah, the chief of deceivers, the chief of liars. Who does the Bible say is
and
the
the only
chief of
ones
deceivers?
he's deceiving is the Muslims.
Satan is. Let's not get this twisted. This is exactly what it says. Why is this becoming a point of confusion for people? It literally makes no sense to me. Literally, it makes zero sense. But if you want to believe the God of this world and you want to listen to the lies that are being communicated, well, then you're in the perfect spot. Now, we haven't even begun to get into the bigger issues here because while all of these protests are going on, there are other things that are happening right now behind your back with the government, laws that are being passed that are going to nail down into the coffin your freedoms. We're watching it happening. And by the way, this all relates to the God of this world. This all relates to the lies that Satan continues to propagate in every way and in every circumstance and under every situation. This is not something that should surprise anybody, people. This is something that we're seeing, and it's getting bigger and bigger and worse and worse.
Yeah, true.
And the deception is growing. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and I have no problem talking about this on literally every level. I want everybody to know this, that this deception runs far and wide and deep. If the lies that continue to be communicated on every level and in every context is designed to divide people,
Special K is made with protein, fiber, iron, and essential vitamins. So you can spend less time thinking about eating well and more time on what's special to you. Free is special with Special K.
Smelly night guard? Polydent Retainer and Mouthguard Cleanser removes 99.9% of odor-causing bacteria. Get conditionally approved.
I got to go shut the door.
It's designed to deceive people, and it is undoubtedly designed to cause people to want to move in a direction that is completely different from what God himself even intended for us as mankind and for human beings. And here's the thing. If you can get people divided, if you can get people angry, if you can get people frustrated, well, then you win. But folks, it's even crazier than this. It's even crazier. Can I show you a picture of an article that came out breaking? This is not an exaggeration. When I first saw this, by the way, I have to admit this, I actually thought that I was looking at a Babylon Bee title. That's what I thought. It wasn't. This was not a Babylon Bee title because I saw this title in all kinds of other places. Mainstream media, non-mainstream media, all over the place. It is an absolutely legitimate headline. Take a look at this. Watch this. This will make you sick. Here we go. You're reading this right, ladies and gentlemen.
Glaring again, gee.
You're not looking at this incorrectly. Look what it says here. Islamic Republic of Iran offers scholarship to pro-Hamas students expelled for vandalizing universities. Look at this. Shiraz University said it will also offer employment to professors who have been fired for participating in the violent protest. Okay, can I just ask you this question? Just we talk about this, okay? Let me get this straight. Iran, this is Iran. they're going to pay you for protesting in the United States for Palestinians? Okay, can we just break this down?
Jack, shut up!
How about we just break the facts down for just a second?
Bloody dog's barking in the house.
Look, for all I care right now, these articles, I won't even read these articles. They won't even matter.
That sounds interesting, guy.
Until we get through the bigger issue that's at hand here. And that's this. This is the Islamic Republic of Iran. Okay, first of all, let's just talk about the dynamic.
Diane, I'll play that after James does his video.
That exists between.
Does look good.
Iran itself.
You stop barking,
and the
mate.
Palestinian Authority.
You're scaring the cats
Iran
off.
itself, and Hamas, and Iran itself, and of course, everything that surrounds Hamas. Hamas, by default, are Sunnis. They're Sunni Muslims. Okay, I want to make myself very, very clear. They're completely different.
Did shut up, didn't he?
Iran, they are Shiites.
Come on, mate, come here.
The Shiites,
come on,
have been killing Sunnis, and Sunnis have been killing Shiites.
Yeah, we're babysitting this dog over the weekend. They didn't tell us it barks all day, so I'm not impressed with that.
For at least 500 years. Maybe a little bit longer. But at the bare minimum, some of the most violent confrontations that we have seen in Islam amongst people who are Muslim have been between the Shiites and the Sunni in the last 50 years. It's like something we've never seen before. And it's growing and it's getting worse and it's getting crazy. So let me get this straight. Iran, by default of how it functions, by default of the charters of its proxies, does not tolerate anybody who is Sunni. But wait, stop for a second. The Palestinians are Sunnis. Hamas is Islamic Brotherhood. They're a Sunni organization. Iran is finding itself in a place where it is making a very temporary and comfortable bedfellow with Hamas for one reason and one reason only, and that is to exploit what they consider to be their much larger enemy. When Israel is eliminated, and of course the United States of America is eliminated by Iran,
I like making you laugh,
Di. To the business of killing Sunnis in Palestine, as they would call it. Do you understand that any support right now that the Islamic Republic of Iran is showing to Hamas is to deceive them into functioning as a proxy so that they can accomplish their bigger purpose of destroying Jews in Israel and destroying Israel itself, thus laying prominence to its location near the Gulf, and so that it can gain advantage over other Sunni nations that it understands and knows to be sworn enemies. Don't even get me into the dynamic of Iran and Iraq specifically, and some of the things that are going on there. Don't get me into the complexities for 1 second of what's going on in Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
By the way, if you spent any amount of time looking at what they're doing to Armenians over there, it will absolutely blow your mind.
Diane, I actually made him bring the dog over first to make sure he got on with our dog, and he did. But it's a cat. He chases the cats away and he's barking. So what we have to do at night time, we're going to lock him out in the lounge room and leave the window and the bedroom door shut and leave the window open for the cats to come in and out during the night because they won't stay in the house with him.
And that dynamic is very significant to the very article that I'm reading.
I don't think I'll babysit a dog again. It's not there's no benefit to me.
To you right here. Very critical that you recognize this. So let's get this straight. Because I haven't even gotten to my point here with this. Sunnis hate Shiites. Shiites hate Sunnis. The Islamic Republic of Iran is the Shiite, Muslim Shiite country.
Vast must be coming soon. I just sneezed.
The Islamic Republic of Iran has the largest military in the Middle East.
I didn't
By
know
the way,
that.
large doesn't mean powerful, but in this case, they are large and powerful. So I just want to make myself very, very clear. And by the way, don't even get me started with where this is going to end up going with what the House just did in limiting everybody's capacity to be able to speak freely. That's a whole other issue we're not even going to get into, at least not right now. Because the complexities associated with the marked stupidity of that maneuvering is functional evidence of the fact that we're walking, literally, folks, literally walking into their trap. So let's go back to this Iran issue, because this is really interesting. This is like super, super critical, okay? Iran does not like any of these Sunni organizations, but right now they have a relationship of convenience. How about we put it that way?
All right, let's put it that way.
But if Iran had its way with Israel, I promise you, they would drop the Palestinians like a bad habit in the flash of a pan.
That's true.
They don't care about the interests of the Palestinians in the region. What they do care about is they care about their proxies, especially the one that is the most dear to their heart. That is Hezbollah to the north. They care about Hezbollah advancing further south. If they had it their way, they would be in that land.
Yeah.
And Iran very much wants to, at every level, take the convenient relationship that it has established with Russia to manipulate Russia's position in Libya, Russia's position in the Red Sea, Russia's position with its friendliness with the largest nation in the Arabian Peninsula, which would, of course, be Saudi Arabia. It wants to take all of those relationships and segment them together for the sole purpose of the elimination of the Jewish state and the sole purpose of the destruction of the United States of America. Okay. Now that we understand that dynamic, let me ask this question. If Iran hates the Palestinians, you might not see it that way, but they do. This is a relationship of convenience. If Iran
they all
hates
use
the
each other
Palestinians because the Palestinians are predominantly Sunni Muslims, but they're working with the Palestinians in order to accomplish their overall purpose, what do you think is going to happen to these American students that start getting funded and paid for by a terrorist organization? You think about it. I'm a student that's going to go right now where I sit. I'm a student that's going to go to Iran to have Iran pay for my tuition. Or if I'm a professor doing what I'm doing, I'm actually going to go and get paid by another school in the Islamic Republic of Iran. It's like the big joke. Queers for Palestine. Sit down in the middle of downtown Gaza.
Diane, we've got a big warning for the next week. Really heavy rainfall. They're expecting a dam to overflow and everything. Do you remember Mike from Around the World said the oceans are heating up and that's why there's so much moisture in the atmosphere? He was spot on. There's floods everywhere and massive floods, not just creeks overflowing. There's like half states getting wiped out.
And let's see how long you last. You won't last. You're done. You don't have a chance. You're history. You are bound. You are bound to fall on your face. Think about this for just 1 second. If they're saying death to Israel, if they're saying Bi'isma Allah, the Allah that they worship, death to America, you think for 1 second they won't take the time to completely rip you to pieces? You think for 1 second they won't take the time to do any of those things? All it takes, listen, I wish that I could give you my ability to be able to understand the Arabic language and to know the culture and just listen to Al Jazeera for 2 minutes. Listen to Al Jazeera for 2 minutes in Arabic, not Al Jazeera America. Don't listen to the politically correct English representation of a complete lie. Go listen to what they truly think. Listen to what they say. Look, let me show you this. Because, guys, I'm telling you, I cannot emphasize this enough. Look at how can I just show you the money? How about we do that? Can we just do this? Let me show you the money. How about we talk about what's going on college campuses right now? Because there's a bigger picture, and I'm going to show you a few things. Actually, even before I show you this graphic, because this graphic is going to be very, very telling. Actually, I'll show you the graphic first, because it's important. Look at how universities are being paid for right now.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, this number right here that you're looking at is a number from 2021. I took this from the Pat Bet-David show. It is vetted. It is a correct fact. So I want to give them credit. But look at how university revenue sources have come into their institutions. Look at this. 18%, right? 18% of that revenue comes in from research. So research that's sponsored by the federal government. Hey, do a research on how many rats react when you do this to it. 12% of that 18% comes from the United States government. And 6% of that 18% comes from non-federal sponsored organizations. So maybe there's a, like City of Hope, that might see some very powerful research project that's happening right now, at Harvard for this this promise.
I can't see where he's going with this, so this should be interesting. I saw the end, but I don't, yeah.
Medical tool, and City of Hope has a certain amount of money allotted to them to give to colleges to be able to bring more information back into the research cell. They might give that money to the college. Okay? Look at the amount of money, percentage-wise, that comes in from what they call net student income. Okay? So we're talking about continuing executive education. Like, you ever hear about these guys that are CEOs that go to Harvard for 1 week because they're learning something about education? That's what that portion is.
Oh, okay.
That's 7% of that portion. The remaining 10%, folks, listen to me. Look at me when I tell you this. 10% of the people at Harvard, Columbia, 10% are degree-seeking education people where money comes from. 10% of the revenue comes from people seeking degrees. Okay.
Which means what?
Question. If only 10% of the revenue, 10% is coming from people seeking degrees, who's running the school? Just for this 1 second. Who's running the school? Can I ask you this question? Is it the student body that actually wants to learn how to get a law degree, or the student body that wants to become a doctor, or the student body that wants to become a business major, or anything like that? The student body that's, studying African lesbianism? Are they the ones that provide the largest amount of money? How about this? 16% of that 100% comes from non-academic sources, right? So it could be a whole number of things. It could be, Kellogg's makes a fundraiser for the education of students that can't afford college, and that money goes into that.
Okay, yeah.
There's a percentage here that'll make you sick, and that is 49% of the income that comes in are from philanthropy. 49%.
So what's wrong with that?
Think about the illustration that Pat Bet-David gave a while ago. Listen, Look, I'm getting a call coming in right now. I'm the professor, the dean of Harvard. And my assistant comes to me and says, "Hey, David Johnson, the father of Joseph Johnson, who's one of the law students, is waiting on the line to talk to you."
G'day, Vars. I told you Vars would be here soon. I sneezed. G'day, Vars. Good to see you, mate.
He gives to Harvard, including tuition and everything else, about $300,000 a year. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll pick up the phone and talk to them. And then about 5 seconds later, Mr. Dean, sorry, I just, or Miss Dean, sorry, George Soros is on the line. Oh, okay. You need to tell that father I'll call him back and I'll pick up the phone. Now you're on the phone with George Soros. Why? Because that student's father may have given your educational institution $300,000 last year to operate. But George Soros is giving you $15 million, $20 million, $30 million. Who are you going to take your cues from? Are you going to sit down and listen to a student body that actually wants to actually be trained? Or are you going to listen to a person who has Marxist ideals, Marxist philosophies, a Marxist way of looking at things? Which one are you going to go to? Who are you going to follow? Where are you going to go? Think about that for a second. Here's another thing that'll make you sick. Are you ready for this? Let's just take the last few years alone. I don't remember if it's the last 2 years or the last 4 years. I believe it's the last 4 years. In the last 4 years, China.
Amen, Vars. God bless you, mate.
Okay, folks, listen to me. In the last 4 years, China has given college campuses $400 million. $400 million.
Okay, because I was thinking, what's the problem with philanthropy? What's his big deal there? Now I know why. Wow.
70 million of which has gone to Harvard. Think about this for a second. Who do you think these college campuses are listening to? Are they listening to the kid that wants a better education in the area of law? Are they listening to the kid that wants to become a great doctor one day? Or are they listening to China? Are they listening to George Soros? Folks, when you take that fact alone and you combine it with the idea that in 2020, the whole craziness with George Floyd happened at the end of May. George Floyd dies at the end of May, but what a lot of people don't recognize is leading up into that time in 2020, there was a growing narrative of division and uneasiness that these people were taking advantage of. There was a growing narrative of insanity that these people were fueling just to find the right flashpoint. And George Floyd was that flashpoint. Have you heard AOC the other day? Did you hear her on the radio? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? Did you hear what she just told everybody?
Jack, stop barking!
If one of these students end up dying, how about I make a prediction? How about I predict, God forbid, and I hope, and I pray, and I hope, and I pray that no such things happen.
Yeah, let that sink in.
But how about they do find a flashpoint like that? What happens if a student on campus ends up dying? What happens if that student is Palestinian or Arab? Tell me. What's going to take place? What's going to happen? What do you think is going to, where is it going to end up going?
Yeah, Shawnee, their greed will be their downfall.
And folks, I got really, really sick news for you when you look at this. When you look at these numbers right here, can I tell you, these numbers have been this way for a long time. Marxism started infiltrating college campuses literally 50 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
This has been a long time in the making. More than 50 years ago. Quite frankly, probably closer to 60 or 70 years ago is when we started seeing this happen. This may have been started during the World War II era. College campuses were quietly becoming infested with this garbage. I'm not wrong about this, folks. And what's even more interesting to me is the fact that these kids are too stupid, because the God of this world, the devil, has made them stupid, to see through the insanity that they're actually doing. They can't.
He's actually 100% right, isn't he?
Is that they don't even see through the insanity of the world that they're actually living in. Okay, can I give you an example of this?
Yes.
Because the video that I'm about to show you right now, it's gonna show you the kind of the bounds that this type of stupidity has come to. Okay? This kind of thing is like amazing. And I'm going to just tell you this right now. I want you to see an example of the just like out of touch world these kids are in. And I'm going to take it one step further, because I'm going to actually show you what Hamas says about these kids. I'm going to show you one of the leaders of Hamas talking in Arabic, who will tell you his view of what's actually happening here. And by the way, there's no reason to not believe him. No reason to not believe him when he says what he says here. But listen to this, because this will give you such a great perspective on how jacked up these kids actually are. Now, just so that we can gain context here. This is a woman who is a student. I think she's a student at Columbia. By the way, the thing that she's wearing around her neck,
that's the phrase that was there.
She has no idea what that represents. Okay, I just want to make myself very, very clear here. She's so like jacked up in the head that she isn't even willing to ask herself what type of clothing she's putting on and what it actually means and what it represents. Because if they saw her doing this in Gaza, she wouldn't be alive long enough to even find out what she's doing. I just want to make myself very, very clear. The other thing that I want to make clear is that if any of this were happening in the Middle East, it would be such an anomaly because they would never let it happen. This is the world. Gaza is the world where they're throwing people off of buildings who want to express their free speech. So how about we just get real for a second and better consider what's happening here? Because this is absolutely insane. But let me show you how out of touch this girl is. Okay, she's completely aloof. And yeah, I'm going to stop this on a few occasions because, look, what's being said here is it's insane. Like, it's insane. She has no clue what she's doing. No clue what in the world she's saying or what she's even claiming to represent. That's the part here that just cracks me up. It's like, at least know what you're getting into. Can you at least do the research to find out what you claim to be representing, whether or not it's actually something that's worthwhile or admirable? She's a white American. Okay? Let that sink in for just a second. Look at how deceived these kids are. Listen to what she says. By the way, what she's talking about, just to provide context so that you know, is they broke into a building at Columbia. And by the way, they're hostage takers themselves. That's why they don't care about hostages in Israel. When they broke into this building, they took 3 janitors as hostage. Like literally hostage, would not let them out. This is Columbia, folks. Okay, listen to this. Now, one more thing. They have run into adversity doing what they did, which is why she's talking to the media.
It's up to them to commit to not threatening us with food insecurity, evictions, and soldiers and militarized police. That would be a great first step.
Why should the university be obligated to provide food to people who've taken over a building?
Good question.
Why would the university be obligated to provide food for people that
Great question.
That's the question that the reporter asked. Listen to what she says. Well, it's funny she's using terms like food security. Like, okay, you're right. Look at how she answers that question. Listen.
Well, first of all, we're saying that they're obligated to provide food to students who pay for a meal plan here.
But you mentioned that there was a request that food and water be brought in, unless I misunderstood.
To allow it to be brought in, I mean, well, I guess it's ultimately a question of what kind of community and obligation Columbia feels it has to its students. Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation, or get?
I don't care.
Even if they disagree with you, if the answer is no, then you should allow basic. I mean, it's crazy to say because we're on an Ivy League campus, but this is.
Go and buy your own McDonald's. They're not going to feed you. You look like you've had a good feed anyway, to be honest.
Like basic humanitarian aid we're asking for. Like, could people please have a glass of water?
I'm so sorry. Basic humanitarian aid. Can we rehearse this for just 1 second? Let's just go over this for 1 second.
Wow.
You choose to laugh at the ridiculousness of the lies and the assertions that are being made by people that are completely deceived because you know the truth watching this. You see how obvious it is. It's laughable. But this girl, let's just get this straight. This girl has decided that she is going to break the law. She is going to deprive people of their freedom. She is going to seek to incinerate the building. She is going to isolate herself from what would be her normal place of freedom. And now she's demanding food so that she can have, she's demanding her Happy Meal so that she can have it while she's trying to burn down the building?
Yep.
And she's calling it humanitarian aid. Like, do you see the irony in this? Do you see the absurdity? We need humanitarian aid here.
Go and walk to the milk bar and buy a burger.
Occupy the building. Let's destroy the infrastructure, but let's still demand our menu items. Like, this is the kind of stupidity that we see every day.
Thank you, Doy.
People like Rashida Tlaib, or you look at Andrea Ocasio-Cortez, or any of these other people that are getting up in front of you saying, damn America, damn capitalism, damn all of this. Oh, but by the way, I'm selling my shirt for $50. Go online and buy it. Like, you guys get the foolishness of this? You guys get the ridiculousness of the type of assertions that are being made by this insane girl. She's a cuckoo. She's like literally nuts. Her sense of like basic awareness is shot. Do you know the sad part about this? Here's the sad part. Notice that I did not say she's stupid. Notice that I did not say she lacks intellect. This is the scary part. She's articulate. She has her communicative skills, her communication skills are far past the capacity of the average bear. She's not a stupid woman. Now, your emotions might get all riled up. You might go, oh, what a stupid lady. She's not. My guess is she's probably extraordinarily smart. but she's deceived by the devil. You get that?
Yeah.
She's deceived by the devil. She's deceived by the devil. But you haven't seen the most entertaining part. You haven't seen the craziest part, by the way, Barchan, thank you. Only reason why I'm not screaming right now is because my voice is so shot that if I do, then I completely lose my ability to do any broadcasting later. Look, do me this favor, everybody, okay? Because I'm seeing a lot of comments where people are calling her stupid. Don't make the mistake that the rest of the emotional and angry world makes. There is such thing as stupidity. I've identified it on a bunch of levels, and there are such things as incredibly and extraordinarily stupid people. We have actually spent time talking about some of those people. One of the greatest examples of stupidity, like actual intellectual capacity being wanting, is the White House press secretary. She's a perfect example of somebody who lacks intellectual capacity. Those are not the ones that scare me. The ones that scare me are the ones.
Shawnee, one of our news broadcasters posted a link about 20 minutes ago. Hamas are in truce negotiations in Egypt. So apparently Hamas has gone to Egypt to try and do some sort of truce deal.
That are super smart, but choose to behave in a nefarious way, understanding exactly what they're doing, or the ones that are super, just absolutely super smart, but are deceived by the enemy. And I do like the fact that people are correcting things right now in the comments, because it's the correct way of saying it. She's not stupid, she's foolish. Okay? Very, very important to understand. There's a big difference. There's a massive difference. The White House press secretary, by the way, she's definitely stupid. But that's a whole other story. Yeah. I would really love to see what her IQ test would come in at. I would be shocked if it was anything north of 100 or 95. I could be wrong, but she strikes me as being incredibly stupid. But put it this way: she's more articulate than she is intellectual. Which there's something to be said about that, because there's a lot to be said about the grooming necessary in order to do that. But anyway, I digress. But the best part of this video has not been shown to you yet. But here we go.
That must be what you're talking about, Shawnee.
Okay, here we go.
But they did put themselves in that very deliberately in that situation, in that position.
So the reporter is saying, so they did put themselves deliberately in that situation, in case you didn't see the subtext here.
So it seems like you're sort of saying, we want to be revolutionaries, we want to take up this building, now would you please bring us food and water?
Spot on.
By the way, just to let you know, the man that is standing behind the woman who's speaking.
Yeah, I've been watching him.
You won't see it in this section of the video, but the man who is standing behind the woman that is speaking has a midriff on. No joke.
Oh, it's got a
midriff. His hairy
midriff.
stomach is showing, and he is clearly identifying as some sort of trans person. What I think is a crack up is, if that man were in Gaza right now, he would not stand for more than a minute and a half.
Yep.
If you stuck him in downtown Tel Aviv, people wouldn't even blink. As a matter of fact, some people go, hey, what's up? Hey, right? You put him in downtown Gaza, and they're throwing him off the building. Are you kidding me? This is the mindset. And by the way, you folks haven't seen anything yet. Because undoubtedly, we're still talking about the kind of situation or the kind of circumstance where these people continue to walk in deception, and it continues to be just a massive and ugly, nasty problem, right? But take a look, look, it really brings everything into light when you stop for a second and you look at what they say about what's going on. When you just look at the interview from the people that are actually talking about this, the leaders of Hamas, they're actually talking about what's going on. I'm gonna take this and put it off to a full screen section of this so that you can actually see the whole thing. And I'm gonna stick my picture-in-picture on another corner of the screen so that you can see this. Because I want you to pay attention to what's being said here. This is one of the leaders of Hamas. Look at what he's going to tell you. By the way, I want you to know this. The translation, the memory translation here is a phenomenal translation. The translation is very good. It is exactly as I understand it in Arabic. His Arabic, the English translation of what he's saying in Arabic is perfect. There's one slight variation, and I'll stop it at the moment that there is. Actually, I don't even need to. But look at what he says here. This is very important you pay attention to what he's saying. This is one of the leaders of Hamas. And he's about to talk about college campus students. Look.
إنه هذا المعركة 7 أكتوبر فتحت أفق لموضوع الرؤية السياسية. وهنا.
By the way, October 7th, فتح. So what he's saying is, just so you understand, he's saying October the 7th opened up a major door for us. It opened up a huge door, a massive opportunity.
Okay, Shawnee, this is who you were talking about.
Okay? Here it is.
أفق لموضوع الرؤية السياسية. وهنا يعودون إلى بضاعتهم القديمة حل الدولتين. وهنا أقول مسألتين في حل الدولتين. المسألة الأولى نحن لا نقبل حل الدولتين. هذا مصطلح مرفوض، لأنه معناه أنك أنت لك دولة موعودة ومطلوب لك أيضا تعترف بالدولة الأخرى اللي هي الكيان الصهيوني، تعترف بشرعيته. فهذه مرفوضة. نحن نطلب تحرر، تخلص من الاحتلال، ونريد استقلالنا ودولتنا. أنا غير هذا عدوي، أنا غير معني به. أنا
دولتنا اللي هي أي دولة؟
فلسطينية.
Palestinian. You understand? It's not my concern to see a two-state solution. Israel is my enemy. That's what he's saying. You get that? I don't want a two-state solution. I want to see the destruction of the Jewish state.
They've been offered their own two-state solution about 15 times. They always knock it back.
Die off the face of the earth. That's what they believe, people.
Yep.
I'm hearing it in Arabic clearer than you see it in English. Look what he's about to say about these college students. You students that are at Columbia, Harvard, all this, if you somehow, some way happen to be watching this, look at what Hamas says about you. Look at what they say. Watch this. Watch.
أي دولة فلسطينية.
طبعا احنا بالنسبة لموقف حماس وموقف الشعب الفلسطيني في أغلبيته العظمى خاصة بعد 7 أكتوبر أظن تجدد الحلم والأمل. فلسطين من البحر إلى النهر، من الشمال إلى الجنوب.
The overwhelming position of all Palestinians in the land. He's not talking about Gaza. The overwhelming position of all Palestinians in the land is to see the river from the river to the sea, from the north to the south. Jews eliminated off the face of the earth. There is absolutely zero desire, none, no desire, zero, to see any coexistence to happen right now. The myth that people hear that all Palestinians want is a wonderful place where they can all coexist. Forgive me for saying this, folks. Bull caca. That's not what they want. When people tell you that they want you dead, you ought to believe it.
Yep.
When people tell you that they don't want you around anymore,
you better believe it.
You ought to believe it.
Yep.
These people not only continue to stipulate to the fact that they hate you, they not only continue to stipulate to the fact that you are scum, but they tell you that they want you to die because you're an American, because you're a Christian, or because you're a Jew. So when these kids on campus are going, from the river to the sea, from the river to the sea, we Palestinians will be free. What you're in essence chanting is a death call. You're a Nazi. You have become Hitler. And I'm telling you this, I'm not some news commentator that's being paid by some news station to do anything.
Okay.
I'm not this guy that's like here right now in the midst of a situation because I'm being paid to come up.
The production line uses IoT sensors to receive real-time data and adapt immediately to demand. Demonstration?
Come up with a specific side of the coin. I'm a pastor. I'm a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I am a man that believes that God gives me free will and he gives you free will, so we should all have it. If he gives us free will to make a decision, then we should all have the free will to be able to express whatever view that we want to express. I am a man who's first generation born into this country from Egyptian parents. And I love the ground that I walk on. I love the United States of America.
Amen.
And we are watching the devil take it away.
Amen again.
Look at what this guy says. And by the way, I'll go on the record and tell you this right now. Because quite frankly, I don't give a rip what anybody says. You come to me right now and you could say, James, you're a pastor. You shouldn't be talking about that stuff. Okay, great. Well, if you're a pastor and you're telling me that, quit the ministry. Because you shouldn't be in the ministry. Because it's cowards like you that fail to speak up about these things that cause people that are sitting in your churches to think that what we're looking at is okay. This is a man that is calling for the extermination of the Jewish race. And he's calling for the elimination of Americans. Oh, by the way, from the river to the sea, from the river to the sea. You don't even know what that means. I'll show you evidence that people don't know what that means. But look what he says. Look what he's look what he's about to say. I'll just take this right now. If you look at the deans of like Columbia, you look at the deans of like Harvard, you look at all these people that are running these schools, you can effectively call them whores. You can. You can say, you guys or girls, you're whores. Because you have shown your price. You've shown your price to forsake your country. You've shown your price to brainwash these kids. You've shown your price to destroy the world. And it's money that isn't even going into your corrupt, whorish pocket.
Whorish pocket.
But you're sleeping with the enemy. Watch this. You would know why I get so lit up about this stuff if you were raised in the culture I was raised in. If you knew how it worked in the Middle East, you would feel exactly the same way. This would not even be a question. This is a very serious issue. And folks, let me make myself clear. I'm not saying this stuff just to put on a show. Because if I want to be real and honest with you, if this was something that was about money, there's plenty of things that I can do with my time to make way more money than anything I've ever made before. There's a bigger principle involved here. The principle is significant. It's not a game. We're talking about the lives of our future. Our children, our kids. Look at what he says, by the way, to you brilliant people that are fighting for a cause at Columbia. Look what he says. Watch this.
وهذا حتى كما قلت لك أصبح شعار في الولايات المتحدة وفي العواصم الغربية وعند الجمهور الغربي الأمريكي والغربي إنه الشعب فلسطين حرة من النهر إلى البحر. هذه شعار الطلاب الأمريكان وفي العواصم الأوروبية كذلك. مشروع للفلسطيني.
He said it. You watched it. He made it clear. He said, look at what's going on in America. Look at what the kids are saying. Look at what the students are saying. By the way, this is something look, can I just make myself very, very clear? This is something that everybody has been warning about. Even, listen to me when I say this. Even people in the Middle East, some of the most popular people in Mid-East culture, pop culture, are warning people about this. They're talking about this. These people that say these things, folks, they don't even know what they're saying. Like you guys understand that? These people don't even know what in the world they're saying. Look, if you don't believe me, watch this. I've shown this so many times, it's like made me sick. But look at, you want evidence that people don't know what in the living heck they're talking about? Watch how ignorant these kids are. This is sad. Like, this should break everybody's heart. Watch this.
From the river to the sea, Palestine needs to be free from the occupation, which is illegal.
From the occupation, the river from the sea, it needs to be free from the occupation.
What's the river?
I forgot the river's name, but the sea is the Red Sea.
The Red Sea. The Red Sea!
So where is the river and the sea that everybody's chatting about?
I think it's the Black Sea and
the Black Sea.
They don't even know where the sea is.
Oh, man. To the sea is the Mediterranean. So these are educated college students. Oh, the Red Sea, it's the Black Sea, it's this sea, it's that. They probably wouldn't be able to identify the sea of the alphabet. With as brainwashed as they are. Look, continue on. Here he is.
And the river on the other side of Gaza.
Okay, so it's the Black Sea and the river on the other side of Gaza.
The Palestinian genocide, it's just awful.
What about the hostages? Do you know about the hostages?
Unfortunately, I'm not that educated about that part.
The occupation is illegal. Even chocolate is not allowed. Wedding dresses are not allowed.
Okay, the Palestinian genocide. Okay, so let me just say this. If there's a Palestinian genocide going on right now in Israel, you tell me why there's 148,000 in Gaza in 1948, and now there's over 2 million. Tell me how that works. Genocide? Is it really genocide? And by the way, can I just do a little bit of preventive maintenance here? For all of you people that are going to send me a comment and say, stop yelling, you're loud too, you're too loud, I'm not going to stop yelling, okay? I think if more people yelled about this kind of stuff and warned people, there'd probably be less of this going on. They don't wear wedding dresses, they don't eat chocolate, come on. Like, really? Okay, the fun doesn't stop. It is about to get even more. It's about to get even more interesting. Let's watch. Let's watch these brilliant students for a few minutes, shall we?
In this way for over 15 years.
It's a genocide. It's not about Hamas. It's not.
How is it not about Hamas?
It's not about Hamas. Isn't even there.
Isn't where? Hamas isn't where?
Even in Gaza.
Hamas is not in Gaza. Did you
just see what Karen
My
said?
Lord.
Hamas is not even there. They're not in Gaza. Well, let's keep on. Keep it on.
Jews are gone?
The Jews.
Are there hostages in Gaza right now?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I got this from someone else.
Somebody gave it to you. Do you know what it means?
No.
What are you demonstrating for or against?
Against the occupation of Palestine.
So support for the Black Sea to the other river to be liberated.
To be liberated from the occupation.
does Israel have the right to exist at all?
I think the state of Israel should be dissolved.
So do you know what happened to women?
Wow.
I've heard things. I've also heard that they're not confirmed.
Not confirmed. The rape incidences are not confirmed?
I'm not sure.
What about the hostages?
I don't know.
Are there any hostages?
No.
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Look,
Load your rifles now. Load your rifles now. That'd be my chant back.
I'm telling you, folks, Hamas is watching these people, and Hamas is loving every minute of what they're seeing because they see the foolishness that these people continue to show. There are so many examples of this. And if you think that the ignorance just sits within college campuses, how about the ignorance that comes from these so-called political leaders that don't know their heads from...
And guys, I don't know if you noticed, all these students are wearing black and white checkered scarves, like black and white. Is that the black and white Masons?
They're readers.
Okay, what happened?
How about I show you a video of our absolutely most favorite Marxist? Can I show you that? Let me show that one to you uninterrupted. Let's just watch it from beginning to end. Here we go.
But of course, the dynamic there.
Sorry, I will restart it because I said uninterrupted. But this is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez before she was even elected. I'm running for office. I want to show you.
But of course, the dynamic there in terms of geopolitics and the war in the Middle East is very different than people expressing their First Amendment right to protest. Well, yes, but I also think that what people are starting to see, at least in the occupation of Palestine,
the occupation,
just an increasing crisis of humanitarian conditions, and that to me is just where I tend to come from on this issue. You use the term the occupation of Palestine. What do you mean by that? Oh, I think what I meant is like the settlements that are increasing in some of these areas where
unbelievable
Palestinians are experiencing difficulty in access to their housing and homes. Do you think you can expand on that? Yeah, I mean, I think I'd also just.
I am not the expert on geopolitics here. So wait for a second.
He's flabbergasted.
You are not the expert on geopolitics. You're not the expert on geopolitics, yet you're willing to go back and to make a series of absolutely insane assertions that are not founded in fact because you're not ignorant, you're ignorant. Like, seriously. And by the way, if you think that's like, wow, crazy, can't believe people are doing that, I could show you video after video after video after video after video of people who claim to know that they understand what they're talking about, but in reality have absolutely no idea what's going on. They don't know the dynamic that's taking place. They don't understand the condition that's driving the things that are happening. They wouldn't even know the geography if the geography saved their life. They don't know what's going on. Yet they're going to fight for something like Ukraine. I mean, think about this, folks. Think about the insanity of these types of assertions that are being made. How about this? This is an interesting one. This is the Emiratis Minister of Foreign Affairs. He issued this warning, by the way, to the world 5 years ago. This is 5 years ago he said this. 5 years ago. By the way, I'm going somewhere with this. Look at what he says 5 years ago. Watch this.
أو أن تتحمل مسؤوليتها. And let me say this in English so you can understand what I'm saying.
I have translation.
No, I know you have translation, but I just want to make sure you get it right.
You understand that? He says, no, I know you have translation, but I just want to make sure you get it right. Why?
Okay.
When I speak Arabic, what you translate in English is oftentimes going to be dead wrong. So instead of me speaking in Arabic, let me bring to you in English what.
And that Arab spoke with a posh British accent. I've never heard that before. So he obviously went over to Oxford or something like that in England because he speaks with an upper class accent, even though he's Arabic.
I intend to tell you because you need to understand clearly that this is not some mistranslation. Look what he says.
There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremists and terrorists coming out of Europe because of lack of decision making, trying to be politically correct, or assuming that they know the Middle East and they know Islam and they know the others far better than we do. And I'm sorry, but that's pure ignorance.
You get that? They assume they know the Middle East. They assume they know Islam. They assume they know all of that. Folks, I'm telling you, their pure ignorance is fueled by something much more significant. Their pure ignorance is fueled by the devil himself. Their pure ignorance is driving everybody to a place of destruction. Their pure ignorance is completely exploding everything from end to end because these people choose to not understand or know what's really going on. They don't get it. They don't get it. And it is tragic that we are in the place that we are in right now.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the point right now where the darkness that we see is getting absolutely dark.
Okay. It's glaring. Is it?
Let's
That's not
very quickly go over some of the other issues that are happening right now that will open up your eyes to see where things are going. So while the conflict is happening and while things are taking place, I'm looking at a story right now that's telling me that lawmakers, and by the way, this isn't really what I would call a story. This is actually a briefing because this isn't the kind of stuff you're going to get in the news media. This is a group of analysts who understand the things that are going on, who are looking at things that the rest of the world is not looking at because they're significant and they mean something. Okay? Lawmakers push FAA bill, that's Federal Aviation Bill, to expand counter-drone powers. That sounds pretty crazy. Like, oh, wow, that's great. That sounds like something that's going to really, really protect us as Americans. Senator Gary Peters of Michigan and Ron Johnson, by the way. Yeah. Look, there's a lot of telling. I'm not even. Democrat and a Republican. When Democrats and Republicans get together to pass a bill, you know something is very, very wrong, right? Like, can I briefly touch up on this for just a second? And I know I'll probably get myself in trouble with some people, but quite frankly, I don't give a dang. I could care less what anybody thinks, because the reality of it is, I know that I'm going to go before God one day, and I'm going to be held by God accountable for the things that I do and the things that I say. And part of what I do and I say is going to be covered into one very important question. What did you do with the truth when you had the truth? When you were given an opportunity to speak the truth, what did you do with it? When Republicans and Democrats agree, they oftentimes do things that are nefarious, not only for the country, but for the people that they serve and anybody else around them. Most of the time, it smells like caca when Republicans and Democrats agree on things. That sounds kind of crazy, but it's probably because it is. Now, Great example on this, Bill Johnson, and I'm sorry. I heard him say he was proud of the bill that they just passed. The only part of that bill that I'm happy about, only part, is Israel getting help. But the reality of it is, it's really not Israel getting help. When we give money to Israel, that money comes back to us 3 times. So let's just face it. Even if we gave Israel money and we never got a dime back, we're still getting a lot put in our pocket because of what the Bible says. But Mike Johnson's proud about the fact that we gave another $60 billion to Ukraine. $60 billion, folks. $60 billion to Ukraine to protect their borders. When our borders are not protected. When our borders are completely wide open. And all of this nonsense is happening. And the funny thing that they're saying right now in the House, and the funny thing they're saying in the Senate, and the funny thing that they're saying amongst all these people, Republicans and Democrats, corrupt Republicans, corrupt Democrats, they're all saying it's a wonderful thing because we're helping democracy in Ukraine. Really? Watch this video of Zelensky talking. Read the subtitles. And you tell me, you show me where this is democracy. You tell me where this is freedom. By the way, just so you know, Zelensky's killed tons of priests. Zelensky has killed tons of his political opponents. Killed. Okay? Tell me where there's democracy here when you look at this. Watch this.
Ми повинні визначитись, що зараз час оборони, час битви, від якої залежить доля держави і людей, а не час вкидів.
I need to find the one with subtitles because you guys, those of you don't speak the language. I'll go back and find the one with subtitles. It'll only take me a second to find. But it's just crazy. I'm gonna find it right now. I'll find the one with subtitles. I have it. I'm sure I have it right here. Because you need to see this. I mean, you need to see how ugly this is. By the way, it's funny too when he's talking, right? Just how.
Animals know there's nothing more natural than relaxing and enjoying the healing benefits of water. Spa World has everything we humans need to do the same. From swim spas to spas and saunas to shade. Visit your Spa World showroom.
Sorry, guys.
Flowers Arnica Rays Cream. Ideal for getting you back in the swim.
Just how evil he looks. Like he's just so angry. Just watch. Here's the one with subtitles. We did one without subtitles for a different project.
Okay, it's glaring again, guys.
But let me give this to you here. Here it is. This is with subtitles. Pay attention to what it says. This is the leader of a democracy, folks. Okay? Watch this.
Ми повинні визначитись, що зараз час оборони, час битви, від якої залежить доля держави і людей, а не час вкидів, яких від України очікує лише Росія. Я вважаю, що зараз вибори не на часі. І якщо потрібно поставити крапку у тій чи іншій політичній суперечці і далі працювати лише у єдності, то в
Okay, so he just said that he's not going to hold elections. Wow.
державі є структури, які здатні ставити крапки і давати суспільству всі необхідні відповіді, щоб не залишилось простору для конфліктів та чужої гри проти України. Моє особисте ставлення і заклик, так само, як і 24 лютого, дбати про нашу державу, про її захист.
Look at the palace he's in while the usual Ukrainians can't even feed themselves now. And look at the palace he's in.
Про знищення окупанта, про волю України, яка здобувається зараз в боях заради України. Я дякую всім, хто допомагає. Слава
Quite possible, Shawnee.
Всім, хто воює і працює заради України. Слава Україні!
You guys hear that? He basically told the whole world, we can't have political opponents right now because we're in war, so I'm putting off the election. I'm just going to completely turn the election around. We're not going to have one. That's what he says. For the sake of national security. By the way, can I ask you this question? How many times have we done things that have deprived Americans of their liberties in the name of national security? We did it with COVID. We've done, guys, in the name of national security, we have deprived Americans of all kinds of due process, all kinds of rights, all kinds of freedoms. We've deprived the United States of America of all kinds of situations where people could have and experience freedom. Right? Look at what Joe Biden says about combating terrorism. If you really want to get a picture of this, just so you can get a good idea here, take a look at this. Watch this.
An unrelenting stream of immigration, non-stop. Not only our Muslim communities, but African communities, Asian communities, Hispanic communities, and the wave still continues. It's not going to stop, nor should we want it to stop.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, it's one of the things I think we can be most proud of.
Wow. Wow.
So while we're giving $60 billion, $60 billion more to Ukraine to continue its political corruption in the name of democracy and freedom, we have a president of the United States that's admitting to you that it's all good. All this nonsense is still good. Okay. Here's where we're at. Here's where we're at. When they agree on something, it's always bad. Senator Powers and Ron Johnson are pushing for an amendment to expand government counter-drone powers in the Federal Aviation Administration reauthorization. Peter's amendment would expand counter-drone powers to state and local authorities and the Transportation Security Administration. What does that mean? You decide you want to buy your kid a little multi-rotor for Christmas, and they fly that multi-rotor. And let's say the next door neighbor is a politician that has some power, or a council member, or something like that. And your kid flies that multi-rotor up in the sky, and that council member doesn't like that multi-rotor in the air and thinks that pictures are being taken, or maybe your kid on accident takes a few pictures. I don't know. Who just does it because they're a kid? Kid could go to federal prison. That's what they want. More things to remove people's freedoms. Okay, so let's look at it all together. How we like put it all together. You have the insanity of the college campuses going on. You have a growing narrative that is continuing to build.
So June, we can expect another barrage coming, Diane. Wow, good to know in ahead.
Where there's deception happening more and more. You have a group of people that are lying through their teeth about what's really happening. And you have a massive group of World Economic Forum types that are waiting for the country to fall apart. Waiting for the flashpoint to take place. And the worst part about it is, can I just tell you what the worst part about the whole thing is? This is the part that is the most devastating part. The only people in this world that have the solution to fix it are the ones that act as though they're embarrassed to talk about it. The only people in this world that can actually fix this are the believers. The only people in this world that can have an even remote chance of turning it around are the pastors that continue to function as cowards and not speak up about any of these things. Ladies and gentlemen, that's where we're at. Now, here's my contention. I believe that Jesus is coming soon, and I don't make any quirks about saying that. I think it's going to happen sooner than later. I think we're running out of time. I think that it could happen very, very quick. I think that faster than we've ever seen it. We are watching things happen in ways that I never thought I would ever see before. I believe the rapture is around the corner, but I'm going to make something very clear to everybody because I think it's really, really important. I think it's all the more reason why we need to fight for righteousness. It's all the more reason why we need to do the right thing. It's all the more reason why we need to show up at school board meetings and why we need to stand up for righteousness in city halls and why we need to take what we do seriously when we vote and why we need to raise our voices and speak louder than the evil that's speaking. You can kick and scream and cry all you want. You can lose your mind and say, oh, wow, all these Muslims, look at what they're doing, whatever. But we won't even knock on somebody's door to try to tell them about Jesus. We won't have a conversation with political officials and say, hey, me and my church won't even think about supporting you if you continue to do this.
Well, they don't care, James.
The only way America has hope, the only way there's even a remote chance that America will turn around is if the Christians in America actually speak up and stand up.
Ain't gonna happen, James.
If we don't do that, we're in massive, massive trouble. I think it's time to wake up. I think we better figure this out, folks, because we're running out of time.
I think we're out of time.
I am going to take some questions. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm going to do that on locals. First part of the broadcast, I will leave open so that if you're...
Okay, Diane posted something earlier. We'll play that. Let's go to history. There it is. Who does it?
We ain't lost. We ain't found. There's really one story. Lost, found. Come on, party. Religious leaders are going, we ain't lost. We ain't lost. We ain't found. Absolutely love it. All right, so, hey, Anthony, I love you. All right, we'll say this. Anthony, look at me. I'm gonna need you to stop cussing. All right, can you stop shouting out cuss words? Is that all right? Hey, y'all hold him accountable next to him, okay? Hey, Anthony, can you do me a favor, brother? Thank you, man. You got him? Really? Okay. Come on, man. Are you homeless? Yeah. Come on. Come on. Well, let me let me say, Anthony, I appreciate that. And tell me, Jim, brother, what's your name right here next to you? Michael, did you pick up Anthony? Come on. Yeah. So let's do something different. Yeah, that's it. And I think there's Michael, right? Well, I want to take a moment because this is the tension, okay? Because I'm like, I mean, you know, you got profanity. But watch this. And here I'm like, hey man, and obviously and Anthony, if it was just one-on-one, I wouldn't have corrected you, okay? All right? No, you understand what I'm saying in regards to profanity? But watch this.
He's right. You can't say bullshit in church. I agree.
But what? One-on-one, I wouldn't have done it. But the young years in the room.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of that sensitivity. But watch this. But there is in this moment where you go, when somebody hears your story, that you were on the street and you got picked up by Michael. And there's a moment. Yeah. There's a moment where it puts it in context, where somebody goes, Grace, you with me? Grace, Mom, are you okay? Yeah. Okay. Percy, can you help me? Percy? Yep. Thank you. We're gonna connect you with some folks right here, okay? So in moments like this, you go the 99. Jesus leaves the 99 and goes after the one. And Michael, I'm just gonna say this to you, man. It's hey, if we could hold tight for just a second, okay? If I could just hold tight for just a second. I know y'all want to be a blessing, and I appreciate that. Just hold tight for just a second, because I really what happens a lot of times is, and I know what you're trying to do. I know you're trying to be a blessing, and there'll be a moment to do that. As a matter of fact, I think that there'll be some space to do that. It's just hard for me to try to own this moment when I got people coming at me. Okay, it makes me. It's hard for me to try to be in a moment like.
His channel's called DJ. Simple as that, DJ. I'll post the link, guys. Hang on.
Got people walking up to me, okay? So just if you'll show me some grace, and we're gonna make sure we take care of them. And I know you didn't mean anything by that, but I think what is happening with us in the room is actually that Michael preached the message, and that you leave the 99. Michael, would you come sit with me? I know this.
Oh, he's a guest, is he? Hang on. Okay, that's all I can do now.
This is going to sound crazy. Just come sit with me, Michael, if that'll be okay. And if I grab a microphone, can I have some help? Thank you. Thank you, son. Michael, thank you, man. Why don't you come sit with me? Baby, thank you for coming. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Michael, how long have you been coming here? You talk to that microphone. If you say this is your first time here, I'm about to lose my mind. All right,
so probably about consistently for about a year now, but I've been coming here since I was in college, and then during COVID, kind of took a break and then came back. So probably about a year or two I've been coming consistently.
Wow. And today on your way to church, how did you meet Anthony? Tell me how that went down, just the story of picking him up.
So actually I was at the 8 o'clock service, and
you heard the message.
Yeah. So I didn't attend on any of this happening actually.
No, I think we all know that, right? So, yeah.
So I came to the 8, but actually came a little bit late. So I missed your first point. Was able to get through the second and the rest of it. Stayed a little bit for the 10 to hear the worship, and then I left and I actually saw a homeless lady on my way, like leaving to go back home. And I think the sign said, "Hungry, please need help." So I decided to go to Whataburger to pick her up something to eat. And I mean, thanks for clapping, but I actually didn't get to give her.
Valiant effort. I think we're clapping for the effort.
I tried. She moved from spot to spot, so I didn't get to her. But so I had some food, and I tried to make a circle around to get back to the spot that she was at, and then I think it was at the Chick-fil-A or one of the restaurants close by the Whataburger. When I tried to loop back around, I saw Tony laying down by, the outside of it. And I had the food already, so I gave him some of the food there, and then we started talking. He started telling me about his life and some of the hardships that he's had, and how he's in a bad patch right now in life. And then he asked me where I came from. I said I came from church, like right up the road. I was on my way back home, and then he got up. He's like, "I want to go to church."
I love it, Anthony. I love it.
I told him, I was like, "Right now?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's go right now." So I was like, "Okay, let's go right now." So then we came, and then now we're here. So
and then Anthony shouts out, and what were you feeling right there when he just starts shouting out profanity at that moment? What were you feeling?
Yeah, I was a little nervous. But I actually, I was a little bit nervous, but I also, like, from seeing you and like listening to you for the past, couple years or whatever, I actually had trust and faith in how you would react to it, just because I feel like you're very authentic. So that kind of gave me a little comfort.
Yeah. In that, not me, but CVC specifically. Anthony, you walking forward now, Anthony. Yeah. Come on. Hey, brother. Hey, man, it's an honor. Let me hug you. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Love you, man. Love you. How long has it been since you've been hugged? Has it been a long time since you've been? Yeah.
I was about to run in front of the truck and kill myself. Please save my life.
You're gonna do that today?
Yes, this morning.
Wow.
About 3 minutes before he showed up.
Wow, he's getting some heavy stuff put on him. He's handling it really humbly. Wow.
Oh. Anthony, why don't you just, by the way, all those people gave you that money right there. And
Thank you.
Yeah. So, come here. No, man. Listen, you loved.
He just gave the tithings to the homeless guy. Wow.
You were so loved.
You heard about my heart. God, thank you so much.
Just want you to know, man, God sees you.
My heart.
I got tears in my eyes, guys. Serious.
Well, you just stay right here, okay? Stay right here. Yeah, you just stay right here. And
I'm sorry, guys, if I don't look.
no. And Did you know that he was just a few minutes away? Obviously, you didn't know that he was going to kill himself.
No. He told me when we were chatting at the, I'll call it Chick-fil-A because I think that's where we're at.
Yeah.
The abandoned building.
Yeah. Yeah, the old one. Yeah.
Diane, have you got his actual channel? Please.
Stay with me right here, okay? Yeah. Just stay with me. Can you get up here, or is it? Yeah. It's okay. Just stay right here. It's okay. Just stay. I'll come with you. I'll just stay right here. Yeah. There we go. No, just. No, it's okay. That's okay. Excuse my French. That's okay. Well. Oh God. So Jesus tells the story of leaving the 99. I love you, man. Leaving the 99 and going after the one. And but then he tells a story about a father who loses his son. Who makes some bad choices and ends up on Skid Row. And gets so low that he has lost everything. And finally, there's a moment where he goes, I'm going home because I got a dad. And the moment he started running home, that father saw him a long ways off and started running towards him. And he gave him a robe and a ring and sandals.
And a big face.
Here's what we're going to do, all right? Because I know a lot of you want to be a blessing. And what we're going to do is we got to help. I love you, man. Yeah. We got to help Anthony get back up on his feet. We have a responsibility. So we're going to take this. We're going to, whatever you're doing, yeah, we want to be able to begin the process of helping them. Yeah.
That is beautiful.
If you'll just give me, I know I appreciate it, but I really do. It's real hard for me right now to try to sort everything like if you'll just give me a second, okay? If you stay right here, yep.
Okay, not a bad sized church. Oh yeah, thanks, Di.
Can we just hold tight for if you'll just give us a second, okay? If you'll just give us a second. Yep, just give us a second, all right? Here's what you can do, all right? There's going to be a moment when the service ends, you'll be able to throw what you want to put on the altar. We're going to spend time with Anthony after the service. We're going to use this. We got to get some help. But listen.
Yeah, Diane, I just checked out his content, and I'm always looking for safe content to play. So I'll be checking him out a lot.
To me, loading him up with a ton of money and putting him back on the street.
It's not going to help.
It's not what we're doing.
No.
Okay? I need you to hear me. That's not what we're doing. Okay?
Blocked nose? Get Vicks Inhaler for fast relief.
It's a funny ad.
Until Jesus returns, unfortunately. But I got a couple articles here that I want to talk about today that are pretty disturbing, but it shows, if you've ever doubted that we're living in the end times, hopefully after this video, you won't doubt it anymore. And the sad thing is this is just one aspect of a lot of things that we could look at. You know, the Bible tells us that when God created man and animals, we as human beings, we're supposed to be over the animals, but in not an abusive way, in a caring way. We're supposed to take care of them. And you know, of course, things got kind of messed up with the curse and everything, but still, we're supposed to take care of the animals. Think of how good God is to us and how well He takes care of us. Now, yes, God obviously is over us, infinitely more so than we are the animals, than we are over the animals. But God doesn't abuse us. He doesn't use us for experimentation. He doesn't he doesn't have those compulsions. Yet when He gives us a job, you know, take care of the animals, take care of the earth. This is what we decide to do with it. So scientists are now growing mini antlers on mice using deer stem cells. So these are deer mice hybrids. This is straight up Nephilim technology. We see the same kind of hybridization stuff happening in Genesis 6, but we also see it in places like Jubilees and other books, Enoch, other places, where not only did they sin against man, meaning, you know, not only did they mate or genetically hybridize man and fallen angel, but they also did that with the animals. And here we are doing the same thing. And of course, we see this happen in the days of Noah, and that's one of the signs we're supposed to look to for Jesus' soon return, as it was in the days of Noah. So one article from Interesting Engineering says that Chinese scientists have grown deer antlers on the heads of mice. And it says the reason is that deer antlers are one of the fastest growing tissues in the animal kingdom. And so they're thinking, or at least this is the reason they put on the surface, is that they want to look at the mechanisms behind this because it could someday benefit regenerative medicine. Meaning, and this is what they always say, meaning if a veteran loses an arm, well, wouldn't it be great if he could grow his arm back? And if you're not on board with that, you must be some kind of monster. Don't you want to take care of our vets? And this is usually how this stuff is portrayed. It's always through rose-colored glasses. You know, it's always the most humanitarian reasons possible. But that's just on the surface. They don't look at any of the negative downsides of it. And I'm going to show you some pictures in a minute that are kind of disturbing of what these scientists are doing to these mice, what it looks like, and just how horrible and gut-wrenching it is. But so it says that the deer appendages can grow as fast as 3/4 of an inch per day during peak spring growing cycle and develop fully in just a few short months. Now, scientists at Northwestern Polytechnical University in China have been researching the same and looking for ways to harness the instant growth rate of antler tissue by implanting stem cells from Sika deer antlers into the foreheads of lab mice. The result, outlandish-looking rodents with mini antlers, described by the journal Nature, and the research was also published in Science. So according to the paper, the results could be beneficial to heal bone injuries and regrowing lost limbs. I'm going to show you these pictures, and while you're and just a warning for people, they're kind of disturbing. So if you don't want to see them, close your eyes or exit this video or skip ahead or something. I won't put them up there long, but I want to show these pictures, and I want you to look at this and ask yourself, is it worth it? Take a look at this. This is what it actually looks like. This is what we're doing to the animals we're supposed to be taking care of. We're supposed to be taking care of these animals. And God said that every animal is to reproduce after its own kind, meaning there's a barrier in place that isn't meant to be crossed. Deer and mice are not meant to reproduce and make hybrids. Okay, I'll take the picture down now. And so, I mean, that's really disturbing, right?
It's pretty evil,
but it shows that these scientists, they have no idea in their head or no
compassion.
What's the word I'm looking for? They don't have any limit to the cruelty that they'll inflict on God's creatures to try to get some end result.
Exactly.
And yeah, of course, they say it's for these beneficial reasons, but they're not going to come out and say, well, this is just for experimentation. This is just to see what we can get away with. They're not going to come out and say that. They have to say that it's for these good reasons. Now, I am sure that there are scientists who are doing this, and they're thinking that it's a good thing because they don't know their Bibles or they don't know God or whatever. But I think when any human being looks at images like that, we can tell there is something wrong. It's not worth it. There's got to be some other way. If we were not meant to regenerate limbs, then guess what? We don't get to regenerate limbs. And I understand that's disappointing for a lot of people, but that's just how it is. So if we have to torture and totally confuse the natural order of things that God put on the earth, how do we think that we're going to do any better? I mean, really, this is playing God. In fact, it's going a step further and thinking that we can do better than God. We weren't given regenerative capabilities, so we can do better and we can make that happen. Now, I am all for restorative type things within the natural boundaries of things. I wear glasses. I have a prosthetic metal hip. Prosthetics, I think, are just fine. But the second it starts getting into like putting brain chips, in your head, or God forbid, genetically altering what God has given us, well, at that moment, the question comes up: would we really be considered human anymore? If we inject ourselves with mouse deer hybrid DNA to try to regrow an arm, I don't know. I mean, could we be considered human anymore? And there's a strong case to be made that that's the kind of thing that the mark of the beast does. And that's why in Revelation, people who take the mark of the beast, they're not saved anymore. They cannot be saved anymore. There's no redemption for them. Why? Well, Jesus came and died for human beings. If the mark of the beast does something to alter the DNA of the DNA of humans, to alter the DNA of humans and genetically alter us in a way where we're not even human anymore, but we make ourselves Nephilim, part angel, part human. Is that what the mark of the beast might do? If we do that, well, we know there's no redemption for angels. We would take on that curse as well. And Revelation spells it out very clear. Now, I think with anything, there's a line, there's a limit. I would never say that if somebody, because clearly I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a restorative surgery in order to restore what was lost. So like with my hip, I have a rare bone disease, and it causes my bones in certain parts of my body to grow a lot faster and a lot bigger than they're supposed to, and it's a big problem. So that was happening in my hip, so much so that I didn't have a hip socket anymore because it was just filled in with bone and cartilage and all this junk. And so a very, very talented surgeon had to go in and actually create a socket for me and then fit in a prosthetic hip and get rid of my diseased one. Now that's a restorative thing. You know, that's not adding to, that's not glorifying, that's not trying to make it even better than what it was. That's just trying to put something there
repair some damage.
That only does what was already supposed to be done.
Yeah.
And so the same I have the same problem on my ankle, which I'm going to need a surgery for that someday. But my ankle, if you look at it, it's actually kind of gross looking. It sticks way out. It's really gross, and it causes a lot of pain. So at some point I'm going to need to take care of that as well. But anyway, but that is a lot different. A prosthetic hip is a lot different than injecting myself with some kind of hybridized DNA and forcing my body to do something it wasn't designed to do and regrow a hip. That's totally different. But that's what these scientists are doing. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make something better than what God created. There's a reason that God did not give us that capability. What the reason is, I don't know, but I trust God, and I trust that He's got a reason for it. And even more than that, I trust that we will have a glorification. We will be fully restored. I will have a body someday in my glorified state when the Lord says it's time, that isn't going to have any of these problems. And that's where I put my faith and trust. So the article goes on about how these deer antler experiments have application in clinical bone repair. It says that the researchers examined the cellular makeup and gene expression dynamics of antler tissue during various stages of its growth. The stem cell populations that were highly capable of regenerative effects were then isolated and inserted into the heads of the test mice. And again, I don't need to show the picture again. It's extremely disturbing. They said that, interestingly, they found that shed antlers produced that were no more than 5 days old produced the most effective cell implants. These cells were grown from the base of the antler connecting to the skull plate, cultured in a petri dish, and then transplanted between the ears of hairless mice. The mice began to develop tiny antlers within 45 days of implantation. The researchers hope to expand the capacity of modern medicine. Here's a quote: "Our results suggest that deer have an application in clinical bone repair. Beyond that, the induction of human cells into antler-like cells could be used in regenerative medicine for skeletal injuries or limb regeneration," the authors concluded. So, you know, it's absolutely horrifying what's happening. And again, this sin, this is the sin of the Watchers. This specific sin is the sin of the Watchers that created the Nephilim, and then the Nephilim continued on with that as well. But remember, you only really need Genesis 4 for this, but there's extra biblical texts that talk about it too, such as Jubilees, Enoch, and others, the Book of the Giants. But there's an ancient account of Canaan, who actually found, and this was after the flood, he found the inscription of the Watchers that apparently told how to do this stuff, or how to do something at least. And a lot of people think it's this kind of thing. And it says that Canaan sinned owing to it. So he read it, he saw how to do it, and even in the Book of Giants, and I've talked with Dr. Ken Johnson about this a lot, who's a Bible scholar and expert in these fields and knows how to read the original languages. He's translated a lot of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and he's got a bunch of stuff on this. But I've talked to him, and I said, does it really say how to make hybrids, like without test tubes and gene therapy and all this stuff? And he said, yeah, it does. It's in the Book of the Giants, and he goes into explain exactly how that's done. And it's kind of a lengthy explanation, but if you want that, check out my interviews with Dr. Ken Johnson. Especially, I think we talked a lot about it in the most recent one. If you're a member of Daily Renegade, dailyrenegade.com, you can find the full interview there. I don't remember if it's in the free version or the full version for members only. So just if you don't have a membership, go get a membership, and you can find it there. And you can find all the interviews I've done with Ken Johnson there. But again, this is the same stuff. This is the days of Noah stuff. This is the same stuff that Jesus warned us about, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be the coming of the Son of Man. And we're seeing this more and more and more. I got to tell you about this monkey hybrid thing that they made as well. This one's just sad. But before I do, I want to again tell you, I guess now is a good time as any, about Daily Renegade. Daily Renegade, I can't always post every video, at least not full videos, on YouTube or elsewhere because of censorship issues. We've had our entire channel deleted before. We've had videos taken down for really unfair reasons. And a lot of times they don't even tell you why. There was a time, it doesn't seem to be the case now, but and the rules always change. There was a time where I couldn't even say the name of the Holy Land without it getting flagged and taken down. It seems like I can now, but still, I still have to be careful and watch it. We don't have to do that at dailyrenegade.com. At dailyrenegade.com, you can get full videos. It looks pretty much identical to YouTube. It acts the same. It's just that there's no censorship. And so you can get full videos of all of Daily Renegade videos there, and you get them early access. So a lot of times, even with these update videos, I always post on Daily Renegade first before I do YouTube or Rumble or anything like that. But like on our sharpening report episodes, you get them usually a couple weeks in advance. I just put up 2 videos, one with Paul Begley and some other authors that they wrote a couple of books together, and it's great. And then another one with Gary Wayne, which is another entry in our series on his latest book, The Genesis 6 Conspiracy Part 2. And those are available right now on Daily Renegade, but if you wait to view them on YouTube, then you're only going to get the first half. Actually, the Paul Begley one, I left that whole thing. It's only 26 minutes long, so that one I did leave the whole thing, but you have to wait a couple of weeks. You won't be able to watch it like right now at the time of this premiere. But and then the Gary Wayne one, you'll have to wait till I think May 17th, and that's just for the first part because I ask a couple more questions at the end. And it's a lot of stuff about prophecy. We at Daily Renegade we talk a lot about prophecy and just try to spread the good word of Jesus out there in a ever darkening world full of this stuff, these horrible experiments. And even on this topic, I have other videos up there at Daily Renegade. So again, it's dailyrenegade.com. If you want a subscription, it's only $10 a month or $100 a year. I suggest getting the $100 a year if you can do it because it's essentially cheaper in the long run. You basically get 2 months for free instead of paying $120, which would be the monthly. You're just paying $100 for the full year, and then you don't have to think about it. You got a whole year before you have to worry about it again. And also that really helps us maintain Daily Renegade, and we're saving up right now to get a phone app and a TV app for you guys, which will make it even easier to access. But so you get early access, you get the videos, and there's also a community tab that works a lot like Facebook, where all of us, the members of Daily Renegade, can communicate, fellowship with each other. You can post on there. Of course, I don't want trolling, but trolls are pathetic. They're not going to pay their own money to go and troll somebody. I have never had a trolling issue yet. If and when I do, that person will be refunded their money and they'll be kicked out. So nobody's got to worry about that. But we just all fellowship with each other, and it's a family. And so I suggest you check that out, dailyrenegade.com. I got a couple other really quick things before I get to this monkey chimera thing, which is just absolutely horrific. So I've been saying for a little while how we are still accepting donations for. So basically, just I'm going to go through it real quick because I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. But I recently took a job at Prophecy Watchers. I'm working at Prophecy Watchers now, and I have been for about a month, a little more than a month, and it's been fantastic. It's been absolutely just a dream come true. It's exactly where I belong. It's a dream job. It's just perfect. I love it. So the last house, so my last job was at IGBY International Ministries with Zach Drew. And 2 weeks before I got the job offer here, I bought a house that Zach was actually selling. He was letting us live there rent-free for a while, but he couldn't do that forever. And I didn't know that this job offer was coming up, and so it was getting to the point where if we weren't going to buy it, it was going to really hurt Zach and his family financially, and of course we weren't going to do that. So we bought the house. Then 2 weeks later, I got the job offer here, and through a lot of prayer, it was just very obvious that God was directing us here, and that's a very long story that I don't have time to get into, but just suffice to say, it was all God's plan. And so we're just being obedient and following God. But the problem is we still have a house there in Illinois that we're trying to sell. And the recent couple of storms that came through that area did some damage to the house that we've been having to pay for, obviously. But we're paying for the damages for our mortgage, but we're also paying rent on the house we have here. And it's me and my wife, and we have 5 kids. And we're a single income family. So just what I'm able to bring in is what we bring in. And, the reason is, yeah, Christina could go and get a job, but we would have to then hire a babysitter or daycare or something. So the money she would make would just go to daycare. Yeah. It's just pointless. We'd rather have our kids raised by us.
Our government pays a lot of the kids' preschool stuff.
Then just have her go, work at a job and just to pay for daycare. It's impractical. So we are accepting donations to help with that if you feel so led. Of course, I'm never going to say that you're going to get extra blessings from God or that I'm not going to make any promises. If you don't feel led, you're not obligated to do it. You don't have to do it. We would love your prayer, though. Your prayers would be great. So if you could pray to God that, anyway, so the best place to do that, I've got the links in the description below. It's paypal.me/Josh Peck Disclosure. And then I also have a Cash App, which I don't use as much. I really prefer PayPal if you can do it. But the Cash App is $ Josh Scott Peck. And we don't have a P.O. box set up yet, but we're getting one soon. And as soon as we get that set up, then I'll put that on the Daily Renegade website. So if people want to mail in checks, I guess a couple people have mailed in checks for me to Prophecy Watchers. So that's an option too. I don't have the address on hand, but if you go to prophecywatchers.com, I'm sure they've got a P.O. box address there, and just put on there that it's for me, for donation, if you want to do it that way. So I guess you can do it that way as well. Also the other thing that we're accepting donations for as well is my son Nathan's continued health care. He's a cancer survivor. The treatment cured his cancer, but it also destroyed his immune system and a whole bunch of other things in his body. So we're on the all-natural route now, and his treatments are not covered by insurance, and they're extremely expensive. We're not just buying supplements from Walmart and just saying, okay, here you go. A lot of that stuff is garbage. We're not doing that. Like it's actual, real, all-natural treatments. But again, they're not covered by insurance, and they're extremely expensive. But they're keeping him alive. I mean, one of our biggest worries, and is a real possibility, is that if we're not able to do this, or just if he has a bad diet, if we just don't keep him healthy, that the cancer might come back, which that's a concern. So you guys have been amazing, and your donations have really, really helped with that. So we're asking, if you feel led, continue to do that. If not, totally cool. No obligation. Just keep us in prayer, please. That would be great. Also, and all that information is in the description below. Also, real quick, I'll just go through a couple other links, and then we'll get to this Monkey Chimera. But in the description, I also have a link to the Orlando Prophecy Summit, which is on demand. And I have a special promo code, and that is from our friends at Prophecy Watchers. So if you want to see, I think it's over 30 speakers all on, and they're amazing, amazing presentations, all on prophetic topics like what we talk about here. Go to the description below and then use the promo code PECKOrlando24, PECKORLANDO24.
Okay. Change it.
If a tree suddenly drops in, you can be confident you've got insurance worth having. Get comprehensive cover with no extra costs, whether you choose to pay fortnightly, monthly, or annually.
Search Bendigo Bank to find out more.
Hey, mate, it's time to go home. I can't!
Don't get stuck in pain. Voltaren gel penetrates deep into the skin to reduce inflammation and relieve pain to get you moving sooner.
I'm back!
Voltaren, the joy of movement.
How they might potentially be extra dimensional, which I believe they are. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sharpening Report. I am your host, Josh Peck. Excited to be talking with you today. So, a few weeks ago, I kind of started this study with a video called CERN Attempts to Contact Apollyon's Locusts. And on the thumbnail, it says, "Is CERN breaching the abyss?" And I talked a little bit about what that means, what the locusts are, and how they might potentially be extra dimensional, which I believe they are. I believe angels are inhabiting extra dimensions above our 3 of space and 1 of time that we have access to. And I'll talk about that. I'll do some review in that. And then I also recently did a video called Shape-Shifting Nephilim Skinwalkers and Angelic Genetics. That was the Sharpening Report episode 344. And on the thumbnail, it says, "Everything supernatural explained by this one aspect of higher reality." And in that one, I got more into the extra dimensional characteristics of the fallen angels and how that aspect of them, when they mated with women, which we read about, with human women, which we read about in Genesis 6:1-4, and also the Book of Enoch, why that meant they became giants. And in that video, I said that I have an entire study on the cherubim from Ezekiel. These are the good guys.
Diane, I didn't know Obamacare was still running. Is that still running, is it?
And also in one of those videos, I talked about, I believe it was a certain one, I talked about how when you look at the locusts of Revelation 9, you see direct inverse parallels to descriptions from the Ezekiel angels. So don't worry if you didn't see those 2 episodes already, those 2 videos. You don't need to see them to understand this one, because these are 3 different aspects of kind of the same thing, or at least the same broad topic. But this can be this absolutely can be just a standalone video. But in that video, I asked, if people wanted to see a video on the cherubim from Ezekiel to let me know, and I'd be happy to do a video about their extra dimensional nature and really dig into the scriptures and pull out descriptions that Ezekiel is giving 2,600 years ago. And he's actually describing some things that have only in the last few years been talked about in quantum physics. And an overwhelming amount of people said, yes, we would love to see that video. So that's what this video is. And so I'm excited to dig in. Before we get started, if you are viewing this on YouTube or Rumble, please hit the subscribe button. I think it's follow on Rumble, but if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and please click the bell to turn on all notifications so you'll know when I upload a new video, which I do fairly frequently. Also, if you want full videos, we can't post full videos of everything that we do at Daily Renegade because of censorship issues with YouTube. So we created dailyrenegade.com, and that's where you can get full videos and you get early access. So if you're watching this right now on YouTube, it's probably, let's see what that would be, Friday. Well, I don't have a calendar on me right now, so I probably should have gotten this ready before the stream. You're probably watching this, what would that be, April 3rd maybe? So no, it would be May 3rd. May 3rd, excuse me. So I'm recording this 2 weeks before that and putting it up on the website. So if you're a member, you get the full video, but you also get early access. You get it 2 weeks in advance. So that website is dailyrenegade.com. Go become a member today. Join the family. We'd love to have you, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So let's jump into it and just talk about what the strangest angels in the Bible are. And in you know, you can sort of describe these as like quantum angels from beyond hyperspace. So and we get this from the first chapter of the book of Ezekiel, and it's really mind-bending. By the way, the research for this video you can find in 2 of my books, Cherubim Chariots and Quantum Creation, which you can find at prophecywatchers.com. So head on over to prophecywatchers.com. Both of those are available in a special package. Get those books there. Don't get them on Amazon. Why support a probably the biggest company in the world, the most rich company in the world, when you can support a really excellent prophecy ministry? Okay. Now, throughout the entirety of the book of Ezekiel, the overall meanings and purposes of the visions are explained, but there's many specific aspects that are not fully explained. So in the past, many people have offered their own ideas and conclusions, and I have found a possible explanation for certain components of Ezekiel's vision involving a quantum physics concept that I've talked about before, and that is called extra-dimensional unfolding. So extra-dimensional unfolding, it's relatively a new thing, and I'll explain what all that means. But again, also I should mention, if you're viewing this on the website at dailyrenegade.com, if you're a member, I have show notes available that you can download right on the video page. You'll see a little link for a PDF. Download those show notes and you can follow along with me. I got all my research in there. So there have been a lot of ways to begin on how to delve into Ezekiel's vision. And probably the best is just to examine the vision in sections and look at each one independently. So we're going to begin in Ezekiel 1, verse 4. And it says, "And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it. And out of the midst thereof, as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire." And again, that is Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 4. Now, another biblical connection to this idea of a whirlwind taking an individual out of known reality is the description of Elijah being taken up in a whirlwind that we get in 2 Kings 2:11. And I do have a entire video on Elijah and the rapture and all that too. And I also wrote an article for Prophecy Watcher magazine, The Prophecy Watcher, on that same subject. So again, prophecywatchers.com. Now, I find this to be especially intriguing when considering that Ezekiel describes something from outside our 3 spatial dimensional reality coming through and out of the whirlwind. Ezekiel 1:5 says, "Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man." So this tells us that 4 beings came out from the center of the whirlwind. These beings are described as alive and having the likeness of a man, most likely signifying their basic shape was humanoid in appearance, at least from Ezekiel's 3-dimensional perspective. Now, that said, these beings do seem to be bodily connected together in some way as one living construct, for lack of a better term. And we'll see this in later verses. But for now, and that does have to do with that, extra dimensional unfolding thing. But I'll get into that in a little bit. But as we'll see in later verses, this aspect. But notice here specifically, the text say they, so that's plural. They had the likeness of a man, singular. So these four are somehow connected as one, and the description is going to tell us how that is. Ezekiel 1:6 says, "And everyone had 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings." Now, there have been many artistic attempts to express what this might look like, and the main thing to recognize is that the text says everyone had, meaning this is a description of each of the 4 beings. It does not depict the connected group as a whole. This means that if we were to consider the appearance of only one of the beings disconnected from the other 3, it would have 4 faces and 4 wings. If every one of the 4 beings had 4 faces, the entire living construct would have 16 faces in total, 4 faces for each of the 4 beings. 4 times 4 equals 16. Now, that, of course, conflicts a little bit with some traditional depictions that we find online and stuff, but given the language of the text, I believe this is a reasonable assumption. So let's look at Ezekiel 1:7, which says, "And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass." And again, it's Ezekiel 1:7. So this shows one way these living beings are connected. Now, notice that the text uses the plural word feet, plural, yet the singular word soul. The sole, singular, of their feet, plural, was like the sole of a calf's foot, singular. Now, interestingly, the Hebrew word used here for feet is kaf and can include the legs. So this seems to be conveying the idea that the tops of the being's legs start out as separate, but as they extend down, at some point they meld or converge into one until by the time we get to the very bottom, they all share one single sole of the foot. Ezekiel 1:8 says, "And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and they 4 had their faces and their wings." Now, this is pretty straightforward. Ezekiel is saying that under the wings, the beings have hands like those of a man. The text states they, plural, had the hands, plural, of a man, singular. So a single man possesses 2 hands. The text seems to imply that each being has 2 hands, one under each wing. This is found on all 4 sides, bringing the total number of hands to 8. Ezekiel then reaffirms what he already explained by reminding us that each of the 4 have multiple faces and wings. Now, next, Ezekiel gives a profound description of one of the most interesting aspects of this whole vision. Ezekiel 1:9 says, "Their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went, and they went every one straight forward." So this is telling us that each wing is connected to the one next to it. The common depiction shows these wings connected only at the tips, but Ezekiel's words don't seem to convey that idea. The Hebrew word for joined here is chavar, meaning unite, join, bind together, be joined, and be coupled, among other terms describing the same idea. It seems the wings are not merely joined at the tips, but are rather joined in full. The language seems to imply that every part of each wing is united, melded, or fused with the wing next to it. And it seems that the same type of fusing together described with the legs is what we see with the wings. Now, this is further supported by Ezekiel saying, "They turned not when they went every one straight forward." So since they are fused at the feet and the wings, and since each has 4 faces, whatever direction this living structure decides to move, it would be considered as straightforward from the perspective of the beings. And so keep this fusing thing in mind. Now, one phenomenal idea to consider is the idea of the tesseract that we've discussed in other areas, like the videos I mentioned before, and also my books, Quantum Creation. And
they use the tesseract in a lot of Marvel movies, guys.
Caribbean Chariots that are available at prophecywatchers.com, and those are available together as a set. If we can try to imagine what this fusion of beings would look like, we notice it has the same basic structure as a tesseract. And just for a quick review, a tesseract is an unfolded hypercube. A hypercube is a cube of four dimensions of space rather than 3. So a good way to help try to understand this is, imagine you have a 3-dimensional cube and you put it on a 2-dimensional surface. Now let's say you wanted as much of that cube on that 2-dimensional surface as possible. How would you do it? Well, you could unfold the panels. A cube is made up of 6 panels. When it's all unfolded, it looks like a cross. You got 4 going up and down, and then 2 coming out the side. So it looks like a cross or a lowercase t. You just imagine unfolding that cube. Imagine the cube's hollow inside, but you unfold the cube and lay it flat out onto a two-dimensional surface. That's how you can unfold a higher dimensional shape into a lower dimensional area. So the idea with the tesseract is, well, how could we as three-dimensional beings understand a cube that has a fourth spatial dimension? Well, we can't visualize it. So you would have to unfold that hypercube into 3 dimensions, and that's the closest that we would be able to get to understanding it. We would have the most amount of information possible in our 3-dimensional space. And what that would look like, that shape that after it's unfolded, is called a hypercube. And it looks like it's a 3-dimensional cross made of 3-dimensional cubes with 2 extra arms coming out the side, because you have in the 4th dimension that's added an extra dimension. So so again, you would have your 4 cubes stacked on top of each other. Then you would have 2 coming out this side, 2 coming out this side. And that's the closest that we can understand to what a hypercube would look like. Now that's what it looks like unfolded, but that's what is called extra-dimensional unfolding. And it's a way for physicists to try to understand extra-dimensional objects that we can't think about, we can't see in our head, we can't visualize them. So that's the basic idea behind the tesseract. Now, what's really strange is if we can try to imagine what this fusion of these beings, of these angels, would look like, we notice that they actually have the same basic structure as a tesseract. Now, I searched long and wide across the internet for an adequate image to illustrate this, but alas, I could find nothing representing this in all important aspects. So we have to kind of just use our imaginations here. I did find a couple of images coming somewhat close, at least to the point that they could help us kind of visualize the similar shape of the tesseract in regards to these fused beings. And I do include those in my books if you want to look at those and get a more lengthy description of those. But they're internet images, so it's not exact.
Knee deep in trouble? Cue the claim to QBE.
Now, to understand this further, we need to remember again what the tesseract actually is. It's the 3-dimensional unfolding of a hypercube. Again, a hypercube is a cube consisting of 4 spatial dimensions instead of 3. Now, again, and I just want to go through it again to make sure we get it in our head, because I know that this is kind of hard to understand. But just imagine unfolding that 4-dimensional hypercube into a 3-dimensional tesseract. Now that you have the 3-dimensional tesseract, so you got the cross with the 2 extra arms made of cubes. Now imagine unfolding that shape again, the same 3-dimensional tesseract, into a flat 2-dimensional representation. Now, that's kind of even more difficult to imagine, but doing that would involve a lot of these squares, these panels, taking up the same space as other panels, because it's too complex of an image. And you're going to have some of these squares overlapping the same 2-dimensional space as other squares. It would involve a lot of fusing and melding of the squares, as they would have to take up the same space. This is why I believe Ezekiel saw something that originates even higher, from an even higher dimension than the 4th spatial. So I believe that these angels, these cherubim that Ezekiel saw, have to be at least from a 5th spatial dimension, because you need at least 2 extra dimensions to get this melding and fusing effect. Again, I know it's really hard to imagine. You can unfold a cube into 2 dimensions and nothing's going to overlap. But if you try to do that with a tesseract, you have a lot more panels to work with, a lot more unfolding that needs to happen, and a lot of those panels are going to have to take up the same space as other panels, which, from a 2-dimensional perspective, if you were a 2-dimensional being, it would look like these panels were fused together. It would look like these squares were taking up the same space, were joined together or fused together. So this could be why, from Ezekiel's three-dimensional perspective, that he saw a strange fusing and melding of these beings. What Ezekiel saw seems to be the result of a literal unfolding of higher dimensional beings into three spatial dimensions, so Ezekiel could actually see them. Because if they remained in their fifth dimensional state, Ezekiel wouldn't be able to see them, not completely. You know, if a hyper cube were not unfolded and it just breached our space, we would only see a cube. There would be more to it, but we wouldn't be able to see any of it. We would only be able to see just the one cube that happened to be breaching our space of the many that it's made out of. Just like if you have a cube, a regular three-dimensional cube, and you place it on a two-dimensional space, like a plane, like a piece of paper or something, if you're a two-dimensional being living on that piece of paper, you're not going to be able to see the cube because you don't have up or down. You're only going to be able to see a square. Now, you're not going to be able to see a square from top down. You would see really just a line in front of you, and you would have to travel around to perceive the fact that it's a square. Just like when we look at a cube, we can't see all sides of the cube at once. We got to turn it around to see all different sides of it. But they would only have access to one two-dimensional slice of that cube. So if this is what's going on, for Ezekiel to be able to see the most amount of information, the most amount of these angels, there would have to be some type of unfolding effect happening. And that could be why Ezekiel is seeing these parts, the legs and the wings, melding together, because they're literally being unfolded into the same space. And that would also give Ezekiel the most amount of information visually about these creatures. And keep in mind, Ezekiel wrote this 2,600 years ago. He didn't have any concept of extra-dimensional unfolding. Nobody did until pretty recently. So to think about that is truly amazing. I mean, we have an eyewitness account of somebody who could not have had any knowledge of quantum physics or higher dimensions or anything like that, yet he describes something that was only just recently talked about in our modern time in the field of quantum physics. That to me is mind-blowing. He truly saw something extra-dimensional. He truly saw something real. He wouldn't have known to make that up. Yet you have atheists say that the Bible was just written by a bunch of ignorant goat farmers. I don't think so. Okay, so next let's talk about the faces of these living beings, of these cherubim. Ezekiel 1:10 says, "As for the likeness of their faces, they four had the face of a man and the face of a lion on the right side, and they four had the face of an ox on the left side. They four had the face of an eagle." Now, when we look deeply into that text, we see that this is quite different than what's usually depicted in illustrations. In most artistic expressions, these four faces are shown to be on a separate side, one on the left, one on the right, one in back, one in front. But notice what the text actually says. First, they four had. Again, meaning that this is one common description as each of the four beings. Each of them has four faces for a total of 16. So next, they four had the face of a man and the face of a lion on the right side. Now that signifies that the face of the lion and the face of the man are both on the right side. That's one way to read that. So I believe that it's entirely possible that these two faces are two halves split in the middle vertically, thus creating a bisection of the head with the half face of a lion on the left side and the half face of a man on the right side, and all of those would be on the right side of the of the head. So, as the late author and researcher David Flynn pointed out, this is seen later in the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel 41:18 through 19 says, "And it was made with cherubims and palm trees, so that a palm tree was between a cherub, and every cherub had two faces, so that the face of a man was toward the palm tree on one side and the face of a young lion towards the palm tree on the other side. It was made through all the house round about. Now, this is quite similar, believe it or not, to the description of the face on Mars. If you know that artifact, that weird thing that was photographed years ago on Mars, that face. Well, authors and researchers such as Mike Barra, Richard Hoagland, and David Flynn have done extensive work interpreting the meaning of the face. And one theory states that the structure portrays two faces, one of a man and one of a lion, bisected down the middle vertically and fused together. And for more information on that, I highly recommend the book Cydonia, The Secret Chronicles of Mars by David E. Flynn. I actually have a copy right back there of mine. I've got a couple copies, actually. It's an excellent book, and he goes into great detail about that. Now, so keep that in mind. It's a and this is what I was talking about in that Revelation video, because for everything God has, Satan has an evil inverse. He has an inferior duplicate. When we look at the fallen angels, the fallen watchers or cherubim or whatever we call them, the locusts that come out of the pit in Revelation 9, it says that they have hair of a woman, but they have teeth of a lion. So we see the same bisection of human and lion face, but instead of vertical, it's horizontal. You get the human side on the top half and the lion part on the bottom half.
Oh, like a sphinx. Okay, I didn't realize that.
I think that signifies that these are the bad guys. These are the inverse of the good guys that Ezekiel saw, of God's holy angels. And that's why that bisection is still there, because that seems to be part of this species and how the species of angel works. But because they're fallen, because they're an inverse, they're bisected horizontally rather than vertically. So I think that's just really interesting. Now, so next, Ezekiel says, they four had the face of an ox on the left side. So that's showing that the face of the ox is the only face on the left side. So again, on the right side, you have half lion, half man, bisected vertically. And on the left side, you have the face of the ox. And then last, it says they four also had the face of an eagle. So the eagle is not given a side at all. So for the eagle to neither be on the right or the left, it must be in the middle, probably right in front. So the bisected faces of the lion and man are on the right, the face of the ox is on the left side, and the face of the eagle is in the middle. Now, again, this may fall a bit outside of traditional depictions of the four living beings, but given the scriptural evidence, it's my humble opinion that this is at least a fair assumption. Now, in researching for my book, Quantum Creation, I often wondered if the faces of these creatures could somehow be symbolizing dimensions of space. I was presented with evidence showing the ox could represent the first dimension, what would be the x-axis. So an ox is generally referred to as a domesticated animal in the Bible. When an ox is used to plow a field today, for example, it generally must walk in the one direction that it's allowed. Back and forth. Now, also, as Mark Flynn points out in Forbidden Secrets of the Labyrinth, which is another excellent book you should check out, and his blog on the ox circuit, which I don't know if the blog's still active, but it's at least in his book. But he wrote this, quote, "The threshing floor in ancient times was a flat circular area of smooth rock where an ox or a team of oxen would loosen wheat grain from the hard outer chaff. This method is still used today in places where modern machinery is not available." Now, from the perspective of the ox, it would be walking in one direction continuously. The eternal never-ending line that creates the circle could represent the first dimension. Now, I know a circle is a two-dimensional shape, but think of the perspective of the ox. He's always going forward, always. Now, the lion could represent the second dimension. Since lions are wild in nature and not referred to as domesticated, a lion would have free reign to roam in two dimensions, the X and the Y axes. So, X, Y, or actually X, Y, but you have the two axes. A lion can roam along the ground anywhere that it chooses. Now, the eagle, having the ability of flight, would be free to travel through the air.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Is that
and thus all three spatial dimensions, the X, the Y, and the Z axes. Now, man, having a living soul and thus a spiritual component, could be a representation of the fourth spatial dimension, which I believe very well could be synonymous with the spirit world, at least a section of it, a part of it. The part of our spirit world that coincides and sometimes bleeds into our own. And again, I talk about that more in the book. Now, the main problem I had was between the lion and the man. So my concern was that the lion might actually represent the fourth spatial dimension. And I considered this because the lion is used in reference to Jesus Christ. And a good example of this is found in Revelation 5:5, where Jesus is called the Lion of the tribe of Judah. This takes place in heaven outside the three spatial dimensions of our physical reality. Also, Satan is referred to as a roaring lion seeking whom he can devour. That's 1 Peter 5:8. Again, for everything God has, Satan has an inferior duplicate. Now, as I've talked about earlier, when the rebellious angels fell, I think, and I talked about that in one of those videos, but when the rebellious angels fell, they may have fallen to the fourth spatial dimension. We also saw several reasons why I believe that Jesus Christ had access to the fourth spatial dimension after his after his resurrection. That's the word. Jesus was never created. After his resurrection, and again, I talk about that in my book, Quantum Creation. I think that's why I had creation on the mind. Now, for these reasons, I wondered if perhaps the face of the lion was referencing the fourth spatial dimension and the face of the man was representing the second spatial dimension, because man has free reign to walk in any direction on the face of the earth, but lacks the natural ability of flight. But when I looked closer at Ezekiel's description, I realized that the face of the lion and the face of the man are most likely interchangeable. Both are bisected and located on the right side. And this might show that both could have the ability to represent either the second or the fourth spatial dimension. And that was kind of the additional evidence I needed to be comfortable in writing about the possibility of the four faces representing spatial dimensions, which brought me to dimensional cycles. So something also really interesting is a connection to Hebrew word pictures, which is another topic Mark Flynn talks about in Forbidden Secrets of the Labyrinth, and how the Aleph, the first letter of the ancient Hebrew alphabet, looked like an ox. Since the ox represents the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, it could be more evidence to show that the ox also represents the first spatial dimension in Ezekiel's vision. On further research, I discovered something possibly providing an answer to the location of the other dimensions within Scripture. So in Quantum Creation and Charioting Chariots, I explored the possibility of 12 dimensions making up the total construct of God's creation, everything except God himself. So these dimensions would be 10 of space, or spatial dimensions, 1 of time or temporal, and 1 zeroth or foundational dimension. Now, just as a brief review of that idea, not every theoretical physicist adheres to the idea of a zeroth dimension, but the basic idea is if the first dimension is described as a line between 2 points, that's what it is, it's just a line. The zeroth dimension, and remember too, a line really is just a series of points. That's what a line is. Well, the zeroth dimension would be the place a single point would reside. So to those who subscribe to the idea, it's seen as a foundation for all other dimensions. If that's true, then that would bring us up to 12 total dimensions. And, that kind of makes sense with if you're into biblical numbers and things. 12 is about like order and government and divine government, stuff like that. So to explain the cycle possibility, the idea that maybe these are cycles, envision the 4 living creatures connected in the following way. So imagine the starting point is the ox. That's the first dimension. Then imagine a line going from the ox to the man. And, you know, the line and the man may be interchangeable, but just for sake of this thought exercise, we'll just say that the man represents this second spatial dimension. So from the ox to the man. Next, see the line extending from the man to the eagle, then from the eagle to the lion. So now we kind of have a dilemma. If the line connects back to the ox, then are we...
Okay, just me left here now, so I'm out too, guys. God bless.